the shit my pastor said, the only place where we talk about all the shit those pastors was said, my name's Kris.
My name's Dano. Switching up the intro, Kris. A little caught on your words there.
What did I say?
You said the only place, the only podcast is what you normally say. But hey, it's a new season, a new intro.
Here we go. The only place
Welcome
where I
to the
say,
pod.
fuck you, Dano, on the internet.
Hey, speaking of changes, last day of school for my kids yesterday. What's your memory of that first taste of summer? You like summer?
I am pro summer. I remember having a tea party on the last day of school with our mother.
I love that. You know what? I did that with my kids yesterday. I was so busy and behind, and a meeting ran late. I flubbed the whole thing.
No, you
ran
didn't.
Into the house with ran into the house right before they got home with bottles of Coke and Doritos, and I just didn't have time to get the tea stuff out.
You're good.
I made it happen, but it wasn't proper.
That's
tea.
when you just power up on your kids, right? You just say, "This is tea. Respect me." See?
Yeah, more like more extra spicy Doritos allotted to you, son and daughter.
Do you remember the person in our life that we both know that their kids would have to ask for a single chip? They couldn't ask for chips. They'd ask for a single chip.
I do not.
Oh my God! Yes, you do. Okay. Everyone else who knows this person is yelling right now. Knowing
I know that our sister would bring their kids to Dairy Queen, and wouldn't give them ice cream, but they'd give them. They classic conditioned them like the fucking bell to a dog.
Yeah.
To think that the red spoon was equal to ice cream.
We're talking about the same fucking person, Dano. I just didn't want to say our sister. I wanted to say.
Oh, who cares?
A person we know.
God. You think any of our sisters listen to this?
No. Zero. They will all lie and say they have, but no, they have not.
I think the only episode they've listened to is that
Santa.
Found footage of Santa.
Yeah, when you found it, that's where Santa's job and location changed 5 times throughout.
No, just the church. Things are fluid up there on the North Pole, from what I understand.
From that lost audio tape that we... Okay, so first off, happy Pride Month, everybody. Dano, what do you guys do?
Absolutely.
What do you guys do to celebrate Pride in your home?
Well, first of all, we always celebrate it. Big thumbs up over the camera to Kris. We've been trying to find a little bit of a rhythm on how to celebrate it more.
Do you guys go to the big parade in Minneapolis?
We've never gone to the big parade.
Okay.
But I think this is the year. Honestly, we just this is pathetic. We are prone to avoiding huge crowds.
Yeah. That's not pathetic.
So that's I know. I mean, we'd love to go to it. The idea of our oldest our oldest kid is a little anxious around having to know where a bathroom is at all times.
Yeah.
And so
that's
which I know that's very normal.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so we'd love to do it, but the thought of finding a row of 50 porta potties is anxiety inducing. But maybe that's not a good enough reason to celebrate Pride
I wasn't
Month.
trying to shame you, Dan. I think
I'm not.
as two former evangelical pastors, right? It just stands out a little bit to me of all the years that we intentionally were silent because it's well, what do we do?
Yeah.
For someone I was just talking to that owns their own business, and they were talking about Pride Month, and they had a newer employee come in, and they said Pride Month is different in Duluth, where they came from, which is on the West Coast.
Really?
They're it was everywhere. And they're it feels do we talk about it at work? Do we? And it just revealed this bigger conversation of how things just can be intentionally or depending on how you argue it, but unintentionally muted. Even though you could be totally supportive and big, it's just in Duluth, it's not very loud. And so
Really? That surprises me.
On Labor Day it is, because the Pride Fest in Duluth is on Labor Day weekend.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like we have like the rainbows on our signs at our house. We put out our rainbow signs out all year long. But like I just make it a point when I walk into businesses. I did the coffee shop this morning. I'm like, Happy Pride Month. Went to the dog
Right.
groomer. Happy Pride Month. And the groomer actually said, we've been looking for dye we could put on our dogs so they could be rainbow, and we haven't found it yet. And I'm like, that's awesome. Can you imagine having a little pug walk around with like all painted rainbow? Hell yeah.
That's awesome. Well, we should make a Pride Month Rambo movie called Rainbow. What do you think?
You know, I think that's an official
John Rainbow?
swing and a miss, Dan.
John Rainbow? Anyways, what is your first memory of knowing about Pride Month?
You know what?
'Cause I don't know mine.
I'm speaking about it. I wrote something for a church that was on, as an ex-evangelical, Halloween and Pride Month are very similar to me. I was told by safe adults to be afraid of Halloween, so we isolated and hid in our house. And then
Yeah.
Pride was the same thing of safe, quote-unquote, safe adults told me to be afraid of Pride Month, be afraid of queerness, be afraid of the homosexual agenda. And so
Right.
we isolated and pretend like it didn't happen, just like Halloween. And my whole message is on those quote-unquote safe adults told me not to trust my body, not to trust what I see. And all I saw at Halloween and in Pride was joy and belonging and people having fun and people including and actively saying, this is really, really good. And then we were taught to not trust ourselves.
Right.
So
Yeah, totally. Mine was. Oh, go ahead.
no, but I don't have like a distinct memory of specific Pride Month, but I do remember my friend Anna asking me in the front seat of my white Toyota Tercel saying,
Nice.
Kris, what does God hate about gay people? Can you what is it about my friends who are gay that God hates? And I didn't. So she moved it from like where I was like nameless, faceless people, and she moved it to like her people, and they had a face and name and a story, and it like stopped me. I'm like, I can't answer that question. So it was like one of the first times where I thought, that's a good question. What the fuck does God hate about all those gay people? Why is it so bad? So that's my earliest memory of like reckoning.
Right. I'm
What
sure
about
you
you?
did some somersaults and like God doesn't hate them. Blah 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 blah. And it's just like, okay. I think mine was in Duluth. I don't know if it was specifically tied to the month. It probably was at some point, but I was a cook and I got a job at the Whole Foods Co-op in Duluth, and I had like, there's so many like managers and stuff that work there, and so I had like 4 levels of managers and bosses, and they were all gay. And then that was at the time where I was like studying how to be an evangelical pastor at the same time, essentially. And it was one of those things of like you just said, like, well, these people seem to be happy and life-giving and loving and doing good things around them in their community and in committed long-term relationships. And I have to just somehow still believe that they're living a evil lifestyle.
Yep.
And that was hard to reconcile in my little 22-year-old brain.
It's like how, from what it was handed to me and told to me, and the lived expression are radically different, right?
Yeah.
And so that whole idea of don't trust your gut, don't trust what you see, because if you really believe your heart is deceitful, which we were told how many times, then you just only question yourself and you don't question whatever the leader says. It's just,
Yeah.
it's bullshit. But happy
Yeah,
Pride.
it's tough stuff.
Happy Pride,
Pride.
everybody. So, Dano, what's going to come after this is I got to interview one of my other mentors. We did Greg Boyd a couple weeks ago, and then today you get to hear Rose Madrid Swetman from Seattle, and she's wonderful. She's so fucking cool. So my question to you is, do you have mentors? I've never asked you this. Would you say you have like even if it's like a distant mentor, they don't know you exist?
Let's
I mean,
see.
outside of
As far as like
Gary Clausen, I know is number one.
Gary Clausen,
Do you think he
English
listens?
teacher, 10th grade. Yeah, I think he absolutely listens.
Hey, Scary Gary, big shout out.
You might have told me to do this. I heard a rumor about Mr. Clausen, 10th grade English teacher, probably 9th, whatever. Like, hey, if you can get him going on how to do a perfect handshake, he'll talk the whole class about it.
Yeah,
You don't
that
have to
was
do
me.
any work.
Yeah.
And it worked. It was so funny.
I
he probably
remember
knew what was going on.
quick. I remember one time doing something similar because like if you just get him ranting, and there was like 10 minutes left of class, and I asked a question like, "So, do you really believe that, Mr. Clausen?" And he looked at me. He goes, he was about to start. He was thinking about it. He's like, "I know what you're doing, Sauter. I'm not going to fall for it."
I got that response too a few times. Oh no, Sauter, not today.
Santa Claus is Gary Claus. Okay, mentor.
I think I have had mentors. I think most of them were in the church, but like they're all out of the church now. I think certainly my old boss for a stretch was a really good mentor in a lot of areas. I think there was a guy named Barnabas who was a mentor to me that I love. I'd love to get him in the pod sometime. I really don't right now, to be perfectly honest with you. I think you, maybe mentor is the wrong word. It's just brother.
Badass.
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly people that I respect. I don't know. Honestly, I've been in kind of a let's use a religious term. I've been in a little bit of the wilderness as far as career path and what to really land on and go for. And so I think, and honestly, I think just like leaving the church industry, I've just kind of rejected all that. Like, I don't want any of that. Like, I don't want to have someone that sounds so silly coming out, but
it's true.
I don't want to have someone like guiding me. Like, I just have to like move forward and survive to some extent. But what about who's another mentor for you? As I think real quick.
I'd still say it's all older people. For a time, like honestly, not anymore. But Rich Nathan was a distant mentor to me, because of the work that he was doing seemed really meaningful. And I listened to as many messages as I could. But like, it's a really good point. Like, my mentorship is tied to my job, which then bleeds into like my character and my ethics. But I've been thinking about like, should I look for someone who could mentor me locally? Because there's something about having older people who just know shit about life, not even just about my job, that could. I mean, I do that with like our parents, but it's just different. But Rose is honestly like, she's someone that I can text or call. I see her at conferences and we can catch up.
Great.
So I feel like I wouldn't mind a local one that I could see. So if any local people who want to borrow me $100,000 and be my mentor, hit me up.
Yeah. I feel like I've seen those ads like older mentors in your area looking to mentor.
You should start that, Dan. Get advertising.
Like,
do you need a mentor
click.
badly?
Yeah. Older people in your area.
Onlymentors.com.
I think like, I don't think I've had like a singular one in a while, but I think like, to use that phrase wilderness, just kind of feeling like day by day, just like surviving such a strong word. But I think like there was like podcasts of just like, how do I like cling on to some of this like worldview and like attitude, like posture towards events and posture towards people, not people groups, but like attitudes of demographics and, I'm speaking mostly like culture wars or like politics, but like even towards religion, to be perfectly honest. But, I think there was podcasts I listened to a lot and still do that were mostly like comedy improv podcasts, like Comedy Bang Bang and stuff, where I took a lot of lessons from, of just like in a very healthy way to be able to freely say like, well, fuck them. I don't need to worry about that. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
That was huge for me. And I think probably like had some unhealthy, flare-ups in me that I've like now through therapy and just, I don't know, taking the edge off a little bit of just like, yeah, I don't need that.
Yeah.
And I can also just like be free of that. Am I making any sense?
100%. It's also like being there is mentorship, but then I also hear you saying is what kind of people do I want to be around? And because I want to be around like-minded people, and I also feel like the edge, and I don't mind it sometimes. I don't always need it. And so like you've met Brian LaCour, right? My buddy Brian.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't call him a mentor, but he's someone like I'm going to his daughter's grad party today. Like I generally like being around him because of his ethics and his values and his vibe. And
yeah, that's awesome.
He's worked through a lot of shit, so it feels believable, right? So mentors or people who inspire you to like live life with a purpose. Like I love those people. I don't mind. I was going to say something offend. I don't mind dipshits, but there's enough people like drinking friends, right? Like when I'd go to the bar, I miss that of like we don't have any connection other than we're both drinking, and that was a season of my life that was fun, but now I'm like I don't want to just hear the same story repeated 4 times in a half hour.
Well, you're gonna hate this podcast, my man. That's all I got. I'll give you one. He's a comic. Look him up, Matt Gorley.
Yeah, I know.
Just a beautiful human being. Oh my God, so funny, so gracious, and so full of just joy that I really have clung to in the last 10 years. But all right, cool. I'm excited to hear this interview. I assume you do a big intro for her.
Hold on, we're not
during.
I do a little, but I got another question for you. One thing Rose it talks about is she's writing her memoir. When you write your memoir, give me some name ideas. What would you call your memoir?
How about
John Rambo memoir?
How about you don't need teeth to take a bite? How about
I love it. That's awesome. Give me one more. How about it's a good day to be a bulldog?
Yeah. How about yeah, sure. You know what? Our high school just graduated its last class.
Yeah, gone but not forgotten. Carlton, 99, baby. Hey, the bulldog I heard is living at the Four Seasons, the hockey complex. So the dream of it being in my front yard is dead. Yes.
They can't move the Esco. Come on, man. You know better than that.
Yeah, I could. If I buy it, it's going to go wherever the hell I put it.
If you buy it.
I was going to
I think were you really?
Of course I was.
So
like
awesome
I told my wife, I'm like, I think I might use, and our entire savings is not like our life savings, but it's in our savings account. I'm like, I'm going to spend all of it. And she didn't agree, but we'll see how it plays out.
Come on. They should have just put it right on top of the goddamn water tower. Bulldog watching over us.
Bulldog gonna fall over and murder people. Okay, do you got another name? Yeah, I know. We're wrapping up. Do you have another name for your memoir or not?
I don't. I'm sorry. I'm drawing a blank. But I think
maybe you should listen to more of those improv podcasts again.
I know, seriously. Yes, and find me a name.
I'll tell you mine.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Do you remember? I've told you many times. It's called
I don't.
Move It Twice. Because I do everything fucking twice at least. Dano, I bought a pool because I'm that kind of guy.
Sweet. Is it sweet that you bought a pool?
Yeah, I just saw a weird text. So I bought a pool and I had to do it seriously like 50 times. I don't even want to talk about it. I'm so pissed at this fucking pool. Okay, let's.
You know what? That was that text was for my wife.
That's what I thought. It just said, "Come on in." I'm like, "Is this the name of your memoir?"
Because I'm in a room that she needs to get in.
Well, tell her to wait. We're doing art. Okay. Yeah. Enjoy the conversation with Rose Swetman and Dano and I. We're gonna record this week and have another one out on Thursday or Friday.
Right on. Peace.
All right.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. When you text me, "Come on in," I'm like, do you not want to say that? Is it a innuendo? No, it's all good. You can bounce. I just can't. Before you leave, send me or post the anything that we say can be edited. So if you need a pause or you need to cough or you need to, and we swear. I know you swear.
I swear all the time.
Okay, good. It's so I leave that up to you. You don't have to match anything you don't want to.
You know what? I'm gonna just be me, and
you.
if swear words come, they come, Kris. I don't know.
That's the way I do it. I had one pastor. Her name was Carolyn. She's the one who gave us this building, And she's like, if I come on the pod, can you not swear? I'm like, of course, Carolyn. I won't swear for you.
Mm.
Okay, let me get this going. Okay, so I'm going to start, Rose, by saying I'll do a little introduction, and then I'm going to just say I'm here with my friend Rose, and I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself, and you can share whatever you want. Because some people want as like their Twitter and what they're doing professionally. Some people just want it to be more anonymous. It's up to you. Okay, let me get this up and ready. I hit record. I have my backup going. I am great. All right. Welcome to Shit My Pastor Said, the only podcast in the world where we discuss at length all the fucking shit those pastors have said. My name's Kris Sauter, and I have the honor and privilege to be here with one of my friends, Rose. Give it up for Rose. My brother's not here, so I'm clapping alone. Rose, welcome to Shit My Pastor Said, the only God-ordained podcast on the internet.
Thanks, Kris. Happy to be with you. Happy to be included. Yeah.
Awesome. Why don't you share a little bit about who you are,
Sure,
Rose?
sure. Yeah, I live in the Pacific Northwest, beautiful Pacific Northwest, in a little beach town just northwest of Seattle, about 20 minutes out of Seattle. I am married. My husband and I will be celebrating 30 years this December. And when we got
Wow.
married, he had 5 kids. I had 2. We've had one together. So we have a very big family, 8 children, spouses, 28 grandchildren. So we
That's
have a
amazing.
very, very big, full family life. And I vocationally, I am teaching pastor at my church, and I work full time for the Seattle School of Theology and Psychology in the Center for Transforming Engagement.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. I had the honor of coming out to hang out with you, and you live like in a picturesque movie neighborhood.
You know what?
It's
I wake up every morning and I really do give thanks because my husband and I always would dream that we could live in Edmonds and never ever thought it was possible. But during the pandemic, this a place came available that we ended up moving into right smack in the middle of the shutdown, and we're so grateful because it's a walking community. We look out our living room windows, we see the mountains, the water, the ferry going back and forth. So it I feel very, very, very grateful for where we live.
that's awesome. The my I didn't tell you this before we hung out, but when I drove in to have lunch with you, I haven't shaved in like 5-6 days because I was driving, and I stopped into a barber shop really close to your place. You probably know it. There's only
Yeah.
one, I imagine. And it was this woman, and I said, "Hey, can I get a quick shave?" And she said, "Who do you think you are?" It was-
Did she do it?
she, no, she was very kind. She was very kind, and
Did she shave you? Did she give you a shave? You went into it?
no, okay, like she was very kind, but she's like, we don't take walk-ins. Like she's like, I just happened to get there right before her first
Oh,
appointment, and we had like a really great talk about spirituality, and it was awesome.
awesome.
I really enjoyed it. You live in a wonderful place.
Hmm.
Okay, so to kick things off,
Hmm.
Rose, um, you were so how did you get into pastoring? First of all, like
Yeah.
I don't recall the
Yeah, yeah.
story.
Um, so let me just give you a little brief history of my life. I was raised Roman
Yeah.
Catholic on my mother's side, full Italian on my dad's side, Spanish indigenous. I think that makes me Mexican. I never know how to describe that side. So half of my family says we're Spanish, half say we're Mexican. So I don't know. Um,
Okay.
so raised Roman Catholic on both sides, generations of Roman Catholicism. I went to 12 years of Catholic school. And as a very, very small child, I loved Jesus from before school. Like I can remember going to church, looking at the cross over the altar and just knowing he did that for me without knowing anything that it meant. And I wanted to be a nun. I wanted to marry Jesus. So that all
Yes.
changed.
Mary Jesus.
That all changed when I got into high school and met my first husband, who was 8 years older than me, and ended up getting married.
8 years older than
Mhm.
you?
I was,
Whoa.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that's another whole story.
Yeah.
You could read my memoir. I'm going to
Leave
write
that
about it.
one.
Anyway, I ended up getting married as soon as I graduated from high school. And so, just a little context, there was a lot of abuse in my home, a lot of childhood abuse. So,
Okay.
finding ways to escape. And I think that's why at such an early age, Jesus felt so safe to me because of what was happening at home. So, graduate when I met him, by the time I was a sophomore in high school, I was 15. We were dating and all the things because he had a job, he had an apartment, he had drugs. And my whole little
Okay.
friend group was hanging out with him and his friends, which is another story. So, get married. Our whole relationship is really based on, yeah, drugs and all the things. So, around age 19, I had a really bad trip one night. And as I was coming off of it and the sun was coming up, I began to pray and say, God, if you're real, I need to know where you are. I need you desperately in my life. So I got off of drugs. And once I was sober, I realized that my marriage really, there was not a lot to it. So you have to remember, this would be back in 1974, 75, 76. There was no Oprah, there was no Dr. Phil. Therapy was not mainstream. So, what did somebody like me do when you realize your life is miserable in your marriage? Oh, I was taught you have a baby. So,
Oh my
that would make
God.
it better. So, I got pregnant age 20. And the entire time I'm pregnant, I'm praying, God, if you're real, please tell me where you are. So I would investigate. My first husband's whole family was Jehovah Witness. So I went to their meetings like, yeah, no. My what I will say is my foundational faith in Roman Catholicism gave me such a grounding in who God was and who the Trinity, all of the foundational pieces of faith that when I would go exploring and I would hear things and go, yeah, no, I can't do that. So went to lots of different places, Mormon church, exploring. I had my first son, and after that, I ended up meeting some people that were involved in a Pentecostal church, and so I ended up started going there. And so here I am. My baby's 9 months old. My first husband and I go to this church, and sitting in the very back row when we get there, I don't know if you've ever been to a Pentecostal church, but they're doing like
Oh yeah, I was raised it.
pre-service prayer. They're walking up and down the aisle, speaking in this gibberish,
Yeah.
really loud, hallelujah, all the stuff. So here, I'd never been in a church besides a Catholic church, contemplative, quiet, all this thing. So I'm sitting there at the baby and I'm watching this thing going, I don't know what's happening. And somebody came and put their hand on my back, like to welcome us.
Oh.
And I jumped. I almost threw the baby in the air because it scared me. So, but we ended up staying in that church. I will tell you, at the end of the service, there was an altar call. I went up sobbing. We ended up in that church. So it was during that time that two things happened for me. Unlike uh, my Roman Catholicism, part of the part that for Roman Catholicism that was hard for me is I can remember being in religion classes and saying to priests, like, wait, a newborn baby dies and it goes to limbo for eternity? Where is that in the Bible? Like, I question different things. So I didn't have a lot of biblical literacy, but I knew a lot of doctrine of the Catholic Church, right? And practices that were
Okay.
very important. So when I got into the Pentecostal church, I fell in love with learning the Bible. Like I went to
Huh.
every training, every single thing. And it was during that time that we would have prophets come once a year. I don't know if you
Yeah.
have this. They call it
Only once a year?
presbytery. And so the pastor, the leadership team of that church would pick out certain people that they want to groom for leadership and have the prophets pray over them. So we would fast for whatever.
Okay.
So the very first time a prophet prayed over me, basically they prayed things about me being a teacher and a preacher. By the way, this Pentecostal church had a male and female co-pastor. So I saw that
Okay.
modeled, um, even though it was really sick. So my life train wrecked during my 20s because that pastor groomed me to have, yeah. So my therapist years
Oh
ago, when
no.
I told him the story of what happened, because my marriage ended then, it was a terrible, terrible thing. Um, so I remember telling my therapist about this part of my life and saying, and then we had an affair. And he said, wait. Rose, you are a professor at the school. If a 23-year-old young man came into your class and you thought, oh, wow, and you started spending time with it, you groomed him to where you actually had a sexual relationship with him, what would you call that? I said spiritual abuse, sexual abuse. He goes, then I never want you to carry the mantle that you had
Hmm.
an affair. What happened to you as a 23-year-old young woman coming from a history of abuse that had never been dealt with? He groomed you. You were so ended up going into a wilderness for about 3 years outside of church. And then one couple from that whole system stayed in touch with me that whole time. And they told me, in 1984, I went to Anaheim and I think it might have been one of the last MC 510 conferences that John Wimber did. So I went to that
Okay.
conference. And so I knew about the Vineyard because somebody had told me. I was down there and I went to this conference. And it just hit something in me that was I felt was right. So when I got back, at the end of that year, this couple said, guess what, these people are starting a Vineyard church right down from where you live. So I ended up going to that church, and once again it became a refuge for me. Like, I told the
Oh,
pastor, I told
good.
the leadership, they welcomed me in. Within a couple of years, I got into, actually, therapy was mainstream now. So I started seeing a therapist and started dealing with my childhood abuse and what made me so vulnerable and open to what happened to me in that Pentecostal church. So it was during that time that I was in this recovery that the pastor and some of the leaders began asking me if I would lead a women's group, if I would then lead something else. And then sooner or later, I was leading a conference, a workshop, a seminar on recovery out of spiritual abuse and all the things.
Wow.
So that church started, and within 3 years grew really fast. Like, started with, I mean, I probably went to the very second service they ever had, and there was maybe 60 people there, and within 3 years it was 450 to 500 people in
Wow.
19. And so I by the time that church experience was over, I was leading the women's ministry and in leadership in that church, and still in very much in recovery. Well, in 1990, the senior pastor of that church had a relationship with his administrative assistant, and it ended up blowing up this church. So there was a group of us that stayed together out of that church setting. We stayed together for a couple of years and just did recovery stuff. Like, holy moly, because it really blew to smithereens. And so in 1994, I, along with two couples, planted another Vineyard church. The five of us planted a church in this area. And during that time, as I was a part of that planting team, in September of 96, the lead pastor and the leadership team came to me and said, we want to ordain you because you're really the heart of this church. You're the pastor. Like, you already doing the work of pastoring. Like, he would say to me, you are more pastor in this church than I am. So I ended up being ordained. And at that time, I think only one other woman in the entire Vineyard movement at that time was ordained. So it was kind of a
Wow.
really big deal. I went through a
Yeah.
lot with the area. Like, I would go to area pastor meetings, and there were lots of people in there that did not think women should be ordained. So there was a lot of times I would be in meetings that got really hostile in it, maybe intense is a better word. When we would talk about women have every right to be in leadership, and mutuality and egalitarian, and at that time I would say the Vineyard was still very much complementarian because John Wimber did not make that turn. Todd Hunter made the turn after
Yeah.
John was gone. And many people have told me if John would have lived longer, he would have made that turn. His widow now, Carol Wimber, has said that. So I don't really know. All I know, this was my experience. There was a
Exactly.
lot of very intense conversation. So that's how I ended up. So I never like set out to be a pastor. I mean, I was just doing
Yeah.
it. They saw it and ordained me. And so then I was doing the work of pastor. And then in about the year, I married my husband, Rich, in December of 1996. We ended up having a child. And in the year 2000, the lead pastor of that church resigned and said, this being a senior pastor is not my thing. Like, it's soul killing. You and Rich should take the church. So Rich and I did step in, and we co-pastored that church up until 2015, when I had heart failure. And then 2016, I was in heart failure, was disabled from pastoring. 2 years prior to that, Rich had resigned from being the co-pastor, and I was the lead pastor. And honestly, Rich did that for two reasons. Like, we had lots of discussions about it. We talked to our board, we talked to our team. He wanted to cut back on his work, and so he thought it would be in moving towards retirement. Rich is 10 years older than me, so for some reason I
Okay.
always am with older men. I don't know. um
You like those older
I
men, yeah?
just, yeah, maybe it had to do with my dad. I'm kidding. Anyway, I listen, I've worked a lot of this shit out in therapy. I'll tell you that
Yeah.
right now.
Yes.
So I mean, I started going to therapy in what, 1989. And anyway, so one of the reasons Rich did that was, one, he was moving towards retirement, wanted to cut his hours, and two, he was like one of the biggest allies for women in ministry within the Vineyard movement.
Mm.
So I mean, he was our biggest cheerleader when we were doing, women in ministry networks for the movement, all the things. And so he
Yeah.
wanted me to have the experience of being a female lead pastor without, yeah, like so many men do all their lives. So
Yes.
anyway, that happened. Then the church blew up under my watch, which I guess is evidence why women should not be in the fucking ministry. Curtis, come on. I mean, really.
Come
I mean,
on.
honestly,
Yeah, no men blow up
no,
churches. No
no,
men,
no,
right?
no men do that. So
Yeah. Yeah.
anyway, so basically after that, during, let me back up one thing. In 2006, the Vineyard USA made the resolution at a national level that they were going to recognize women in leadership translocally. You could do whatever you want in your local church, but in the area, region, and national, they would recognize women in leadership, ordained women, pastors, all the things, which caused a bit of a stir.
2006?
2006.
That was
Yeah.
2006? That's like
20 years ago.
a year. Yeah, but we started in 2005. And I don't remember this. I thought it was always been, not always, I thought it was much earlier than
No,
that.
no. It
That's
was
when it was formally
2006 that they
recognized.
did the resolution. At the time, Bert Wagner was our national director. Todd
Yeah.
had started the process, then he resigned. Bert picked it up and got it pushed through. Now, I've had
Okay.
conversations with Bert about this, about what was happening at the board level, but we don't need to go into that. Um, that's for another story.
Another time. Yeah.
Um,
Ship the board, people said.
yeah,
Yes.
there you go. We could do a whole series on shit your
Hmm.
board. Yeah.
Oh, people would love that.
So right after they did that resolution, the man that was our regional leader at the time invited me to lunch and sat down and said, "Look, we had not had an area leader for like the 7 churches that were in this little Washington, Seattle area for a couple years." So he met with me and said, "I would really like you to be the area leader. And I want to be clear, I'm not asking you and your husband to do it. I'm asking you to do it." Because again, he wanted a woman to have the experience that so many men had had since the movement was
Yes.
birthed, right? So I said yes. And I'll never forget the national meeting that once a year, Vineyard USA brings all the national leaders together for a few days meeting, so area leaders, regional leaders, I don't know what they call them now, network leaders. They used to call them something else. The board, all the things. So, but I'll never forget that because Jamie and Michelle Wilson at Coast Vineyard in San Diego were sitting in the front row, and they were so excited for when they were announcing the new area leaders. And they did that on purpose because they told me after, we wanted to be in the front row in case anything weird happened when they announced you as an area leader. And I'll tell you what, they clapped really loud, but there was like, you could also hear the tension in the room. Like, it was weird. So
Oh
that was
yeah.
in 2006. So then let's fast forward to 2012. Um, I became the new national director called me, asked me if I would be a regional leader, that because it was, yeah, anyway. They had made the change at that time that prior to that, if you were a regional leader, you were on the board. With the new director, he recommissioned the
Yeah.
board to not be regional leaders. He picked who the board members would be. So if you were a regional leader, it did not necessarily mean that you were on the board. So I was never on the board, but I said yes to being the regional leader for the Vineyard Northwest in 2012. And here's something I would say about that particular national director. He defended me in many ways. I know he got calls from people when they appointed me in my region saying, we don't believe that a woman can be over men, and how are we supposed to relate to a woman, if like how are we supposed to talk to her if there's sensitive issues that come up? And to his credit, he basically told, they wanted to know if they could move regions, like have a different, and he said no, we're not
Wow.
doing that. And two, how do you think women have existed for 40 years in this movement without a woman in leadership to talk to? And so he really did defend me and wasn't backing down
That's
on
great.
that. So I led the region for 10 years. And in 2016, when I had my heart failure once again, he called me and, wanted to make sure, what was happening. And I remember saying to him at that point, do you want me to give you some names of people in the region that I think could take the region? And he said, no, I think we're just going to wait. You have a team in place. They can do the work. Why don't we just wait and see what happens? So I never entered, even though I was disabled from pastoring, my doctors told me if leading the region was not stressful for my heart and it gave me life, then I should absolutely continue doing it. So I did until 2022. And then
Wow.
during the whole reorg and transition time, transitioned out of that. And then I ended up after that doing that whole year, knowing I was transitioning out of being a regional leader. I just did a year of discernment with some close friends, my therapist, my spiritual director, and on my own. And I I felt like my path was to stay involved in my church, um, to take more work at the Seattle School if they offered it to me because it gives me so much life, to begin to write. And I didn't really know what that meant. I just wrote it down because it came up. Uh, to increase, like, take on more clients for mentoring, consultation, spiritual direction. And the fourth thing was transition the region well as I could. So all of those things happened. And
Wow.
so now I'm working full time at the school. I literally, as of April 1st, I became the executive director of the Center for Transforming Engagement. And I will tell you,
Hell
I
yeah.
am so grateful. Just like where I live, I feel like where I get to work, it gives me meaning, it gives me purpose. And rather than just working within one denomination, I'm getting to work with clergy across the breadth of the body of Christ. And it is so fulfilling. And I will just, for full disclosure, tell you that maybe it was 2 years ago, September, our pastors disaffiliated from the Vineyard movement. So I'm no longer in a Vineyard
Okay.
church. That's how I ended up where
Yeah.
I am today. A long story.
Yeah. I love it. And where do you remember where we met?
Kris,
It was
I feel like, do you do you know?
it was New Orleans.
Was
Yeah, it
that
was
the
New
first time we
Orleans when they
met?
had that was the first time that we might have crossed paths, but it was I was already out of the Vineyard, and the Phil, what is Phil's Jennison from New
Johnson.
Orleans.
Yeah,
He was
yeah.
putting on,
Hmm.
yeah, and he put on that
Crucial
it
conversations or
was a
something like critical
crucial,
conversations. Yes.
and it was like a legit Vineyard conference. But I looked at the speakers. It was like David Gushy, Lisa Sharon Harper, Brian Zahn. We'll leave that for a different time. Uh, and some others. And I'm like, these are some of my heroes. I want to see them, but I don't want to be at a Vineyard conference. And I showed up thinking I'm going to see all these people that hurt me. And I met you, and we had
That's
martinis
right.
together. And I remember just like, holy fuck, I think I made a friend really quickly. And you listened to me. You were kind. You were compassionate. You were full of rage on the same things,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Of these fucking guys in the Vineyard. And so I have not heard all that
Yeah.
story. So I appreciate that.
Well, I'll tell you
And there's so much more in that story.
Oh, there's so much. I mean, I will tell you, I'm literally writing a memoir right now because my therapist for like the last 10 years, he's been telling me, you have to write this story. And my husband for 30 years has been saying, your story is a story of redemption and grace. Sorry, this doesn't matter, right? It's
You're
not.
all good. No, doesn't matter.
Your story is a story of redemption and grace. You have to write it. And so you remember when I told you in my discernment, one of the things was write? I really didn't know, like, because I wrote so much while I was doing my doctoral studies and wrote my dissertation, all the papers after you have to write. I was so burnt out from writing. But then, so in 2022, when I had that in my discernment, what I did was I started a blog because I didn't know what else to do. So I just started blogging to try to
Yeah.
practice my writing muscle. Well, I think about a year ago, I started a Substack, and just really the
Mm-hmm.
Substack was a place where I could just process what was going on internally with what's going on in the church in America and the country and all the things. So I just started writing there. And so now, I mean, I don't have a big following, but I have a little audience now. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to release my memoir chapter by chapter on my Substack for
Awesome.
paid subscribers only because I want to have a little bit control of who's reading it at first because as I just told you, there's a lot of
Yes.
vulnerability in that story. And
Yeah.
so yeah, that's what I'm doing.
Okay. So quickly, then, how if someone is listening and they want to find your Substack and throw fat stacks of cash at you, how do they do that?
Just go to Rose Madrid Swetman Substack and it'll bring up the link. I'm sure it will.
Okay. And we'll put a link on
Okay.
the website or on the
Yeah.
podcast as well.
Yeah.
Okay. I can't wait. Your Substack, your most recent. Well, I think the most recent one I read was I texted you. It was, I had so many laugh out loud moments. I love it because you get my crazy, right? So when you sharing personal things, I'm like, oh, this she knows what
Yes.
I feel very similar. And I feel when I feel like I can share that space with someone, I can't wait for more shit to come out. So I will be one of your.
Oh no.
I will soon to be
Oh
one of your
no.
paid subscribers.
Oh no.
It's okay.
I don't know. I'm going to answer
That's
this.
great. Okay,
Hello?
I'll let you know if I can hear it.
You know what? It's scam. I'm
We.
sure of it. I got to
Oh,
train. I don't know how to get how do I get it off my phone not to ring on my computer? See, I'm going to be 70. I
I.
don't know how to do technology, Chris.
It's a,
Holy moly.
we're not. This will not be in
Okay,
there.
I think you should leave it.
Okay, maybe
I
it
don't
will.
mind.
Okay, so
I don't mind. Okay, I don't know how to turn
okay,
my phone
so
off. I wonder. I know if
you
I
don't
turn
have
my
to.
phone
You
off,
can
it will
hear
still
all of
ring
it.
on my computer. But let's just try to get through this.
Okay, so let's pivot. Let's pivot to the next
Okay.
piece. Um, and I will put the how to get onto your
Okay.
Substack on the podcast. Um, so a big thing of what we do on this podcast of shit my pastor said. When was we talk about the shit that people have said that hurt us or inspired us. But I always like to ask pastors, what is some shit that you have said to people that if you could like take back, right? And we're not going to mind the depths of all the pain and trauma we've
No, no,
caused
no,
other
no.
people, but like, is there something
Oh,
that comes to mind that
you
you're like,
know,
oh fuck,
I'm thinking a lot about this right now because I'm writing my story.
yeah,
So, I mean, I have deep regrets, Chris, around so many things. And I think probably I I don't I don't really want to say this as an excuse. I want to say it as this is just the truth. I was mentored into leadership by males were my mentors and they had a way that they thought about leadership and um God, I'm not really trying to, I don't know how to say this because you and I have both experienced this. And I mean, I did it as a pastor and I've had it done to me within the movement.
yes,
For instance, I maybe said something and then I got called on for being divisive and why didn't you go to the person? Why did, I mean, you know, what I mean? Like there is, of course, ethical ways about dealing with conflict and all the things. But I think there are times, and I think especially as I have watched in the last few years, as crisis after crisis has come up in our former movement, the way that it has been handled, telling people like you're being divisive when you're really telling the truth, when
Yep.
um, you're gossiping, when, well, you won't listen to me, so who am I supposed to, you know what I mean? Like there's things,
Yeah.
but I was trained in that system, and I know I did that to people. I know
Yep. Me
I
too.
treated people that were really trying to process things that maybe we were not listening to, that I'm going to just say, I think I was a human being trained in a system doing leadership. I was accused of abusing my spiritual authority, but I will not embrace that. I will not ever say that that's what happened. I was a human being. I made mistakes as a leader. I regret
Yeah.
the way that I trusted some people in and confided in them about my challenges as a pastor. Um, and so, I mean, I have a lot of very deep regrets, really, if I could go back and do some
Yeah.
things over again, because I do think that I can't think of anything really specific that I would say to people. I just, when you say that question to me, I can think of like scenarios, right? Like, ooh,
Yes.
I wish I wouldn't have. I mean, I remember in a lot of my reading and training, like, oh, to be a good disciple, you have to be committed to your local church. And if you're not committed, you can't be in leadership. And if you don't do X, Y, and Z, you can't lead. I would fucking take all of that back, Chris. I would.
Oh
I
God.
would. If I
Yes.
could do any of that over again, knowing what I know now about the work that I do now around the well being of people and leaders and clergy, I would take so much back. I really would.
Yeah.
I have a lot of regrets.
I feel like it's a really good thing. We were put in a system of this is what discipleship or leadership or pastoring or spiritual care
Yeah.
is. And I can still feel like even you saying I feel this like it's like a wet blanket of I tried playing the pastor I was trained to be and it'd come out of my mouth of like, hey, you guys should probably think about having sex more to like married couples that were just like a mess. And I remember saying it once, and the woman looked at me almost like, what the fuck are you talking about? I'm like, God, why am I saying this? I don't even believe this. There's so many of those just like, oh,
Oh,
things that were like, this is what you
yeah.
do. And
I mean,
I would take that back 100
right? Or how
100%.
about a couple wants you to officiate their marriage and they've been sexually active, so you make them abstain for 4 months for God's sake. I mean, just things that we were trained to lead that way. And we did it
Yeah.
because we thought we were doing the right thing and being obedient. But man, when I look back now, I would not have done any of those things, right?
No.
So yeah, those are
Yeah.
my big
It's,
regrets, Chris.
yeah. I imagine there's going to be some more in the memoir. Okay. So before we wrap up, if you're willing to share, I imagine as being a regional leader for as long as you were in a movement that was, in some factions, it was very supportive of women being in ministry. And like you shared, there was also the tension in that room, right? So it's like a mixed bag.
Hmm.
Um, what stories of what kind of shit did pastors or leaders say to you
Hmm.
that you would be willing to put on the internet for all time?
Oh man, holy moly. Um, I mean that same national director when he called me to be the regional leader, which in that conversation, like he did not know me and I did not know him. We did not have a prior, I came recommended to him. And he didn't know anybody in the Northwest region. So, um, and he kind of said that to me, like, I'm going to trust what so and so told me about you. Like I'm kind of rolling the dice with you. He like told me cuz I'm a female progressive woman in Seattle. So that's danger danger, Will
Yep.
Robinson. So anyway, um but I do remember one of the things he said to me too was because at the time I had called out Mark Driscoll. He was pastoring in Seattle, and I'd written an open letter to Mark Driscoll around some of the abuse that I was hearing and some of the things he was saying publicly. Scott McKnight at the time had a blog called Jesus Creed. He posted it, so it
I know
kind of
that.
went viral. So got all kinds of attention. I ended up meeting with Mark Driscoll after that open letter to like blah blah blah. So, um, Why am I telling you that?
Because you're telling a story about someone in that same phone call
Oh,
from a
I'm so
national
sorry.
leader.
Yes. Thank you. I
Yeah.
got lost my mind there for a minute.
Yeah, I was starting to think about Mark
I know
Driscoll
I
and
was going too far
the
with Mark. So back to that
oh,
phone call, because I was highly
yeah.
involved in all of that, I wanted him to know. And so two things I told him on that call. I want you to know these things about me before you really invite me. A, I have a daughter that is gay, and B, I'm very involved in the whole situation in Seattle with Mark Driscoll. And he said to me, well, I'm fine with your daughter being gay as long as you stay clear about where you are and abide by what the Vineyard has set. And two, yeah, the thing with Mark Driscoll, that's not our fight. And I remember just feeling devastated. What are you kidding me? That's not our
Wow.
fight. Are you kidding me? This is a war in Seattle for women. I mean, I was like, so
Yeah.
that was something that happened. I'll tell you another thing that a male leader did is one when the whole thing went down with my church and I was being accused of things and there was a big old fight and led to my heart failure, all the things. You can read it in my memoir if you want to hear about it.
Yeah.
But the guy that when I told you I started a church with those two couples, and the male of that was the lead pastor of the church that my husband and I ended up taking over. He wrote me a letter, and because he sided with some of the people making accusations and basically told me that he made me and he could break me. So if I say anything
Oh my God.
publicly about him, he will make sure that, I mean, yeah, how about that? There's a
Wow.
video on the site of the Seattle school it's on our website, the Center for Transforming Engagement website. There's a video of me that the school did several years ago about my recovery from my heart failure. And in that video, I mentioned one sentence that my church was in chaos. I was betrayed by some close friends. Then I move on to my recovery. Literally a sentence. Oh, I got an email telling me from this guy that I better take that out. He'll give me 2 weeks to have the school edit that out or else. And it's like, yeah, nobody did anything. Like, so that's the kind of thing I get. I'll tell you one other thing since we're in a MAGA world now.
Yeah.
Back in, I wish I could remember, it was, I was still a regional leader. So it had to be during the first Trump presidency. The national conference was happening and they were calling it Come Holy Spirit. So I was in a regional meeting with all the regional leaders and our national director. And one of the regional leaders had been at odds with the national director for quite a while. And I mean, you could just feel the tension between them. And so he was asking about the name of the conference because it feels like we're trying to go back to the 1980s instead of moving forward. And the national director got very upset for him to be asking that. So I was sitting at the table and all I wanted to do was try to say, well, wait, this is a valid question because I have young people in my region saying the same thing to me. Like, I think
Yeah.
this is a valid, oh boy, that was not okay. I, I think after that, I don't know that he ever really talked to me again. So, in fact,
Wow.
after the meeting, he came up to me and was like in my face, like, I wish I could remember what he said. My husband was there, but he was very angry that he was blindsided in that meeting. I participated in it, and it's not right to do. I mean, again, it's like, yeah. So I did. While we were in that meeting, though, and that was going on, I don't remember why, but there was something about the Trump administration or something about, I can't, I wish I could remember. All I remember is one of the regional leaders, who, by the way, was complementarian, have no idea why he was allowed to be a regional leader after that. Yeah, how do you lead a movement that agrees that women can be in leadership, but you don't? Anyway,
Yeah.
he spoke up and he said, listen, national director, we got your back. You know what? We love our Bibles and our guns, and we got your back. And I just remember my heart sunk and it's like, I think my days in this movement are ending. I remember it in that meeting.
Yeah.
That's how it felt to me.
And I'm assuming that guy didn't get like I don't want to say reprimanded, but he didn't get
Oh
redirected
no, they
or
all
anything
thought
like
that
that.
was awesome. Like, we're with you. We love our guns and our Bibles, and we're with you. Come, Holy Spirit, with our guns and our Bibles.
Yep.
I mean, honestly, I think that is my probably biggest disappointment with the current movement. Leadership is, in my personal opinion, I don't think they do enough publicly to differentiate themselves from Christian nationalism. They have a lot of churches,
Yes.
mega churches, and they will not. Yeah. So
It's
anyway,
all about that
there we
paper.
go. You
So
know
there we
what? The
go.
last thing I will
Okay.
tell you, because you asked me about tips for how I got to where I am
Yeah.
and what I do. I just want to say one thing. I would have been destroyed a long, long time ago had I not, I mean, starting from my earliest childhood, Baltimore Catechism, who is God? God is love. I mean,
Mm.
that as a child got in me so big to where through all of the different paths I've taken that have been some in my own choice, some at what I've done, what's been done to me. I will tell you, no matter in all my breakings, I land in absolutely being grounded in I'm loved by God. I'm God's beloved. And that's
Yeah.
all I can hold on to. And that's what I trust. And I swear to God, things work out. I mean, I just swear, like, because it's a life of surrender, is what I would say. When all this
Yeah.
shit was going down with my church, it's like, I can't defend myself. Everybody counseled me, you can't defend yourself. So that was a very deep surrender. When I had my heart failure, I'm in the hospital for 8 nights. They're telling me they don't know if I'm going to leave that hospital because they don't know if there's anything they actually can do for my heart. They might just have to put me on a transplant list. And then when they were going to do a surgery to implant something in to try to keep me alive, they told me that was a high risk because my heart was so low, they didn't know if I would even make it through that surgery. So all I would say is every single night I went to sleep in the hospital. They would give me my meds. I would put a little worship set on my phone and I would fall asleep because it was a deep, deep surrender. I literally would pray before I went to sleep, like that whole prayer of, if I were to die before I wake, I swear to God, I prayed that prayer, Kris, because I didn't know if I was going to wake up in that bed or not. So I would say what I would say the tips are, first of all, you have to be grounded in the love of God. I mean, that's one of the spiritual, Ignatian exercises. You can't even look at your sin until you know how much you're loved by God. And that has been so true for me. And I would say the second thing is very deep surrender. And of course, I have therapists and spiritual direction that helps me get to that place. So those are my tips.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you, Rose. I appreciate your vulnerability, and I can't wait for all that money you're going to make off that Substack of all our 10
You know
listeners
what?
and
I'm not
for your
I'm
memoir.
not monetizing it to make money. The reason I decided to do a paid subscribe. I really want control of who's reading it at first because there's some
Yes.
really vulnerable stuff in there. So people that want to come on that journey with me, great. And if you don't, that's fine too. That's yeah, because
That's fine.
I'm gonna keep
But
writing my normal Substack. That's just a side thing that I'm doing.
I had a wise person once tell me creating content is work. And so, what is your work worth? So, get paid. Why not?
All right.
Okay. Well, thank you,
Thank
Rose. I
you.
appreciate
You
you.
take care.